Welcome back to Liberty Tree Gaming. We are in the middle of the King's Gambit quest. And right now we're playing as Godwin, meeting with the lesser nobility, Jobst and Radzig, Hanush, and the like of them. And John of Liechtenstein has tasked us with helping to accomplish Jobst's plan through some unusual means. So we'll read this log here. Well, first off, in the last episode, we also played as Henry and infiltrated the meeting of King Sigismund with the higher nobility in Kuttenberg. And then we swapped over here to see what's going on with the lower lords and Wenceslas supporters. So this says, Liechtenstein explained to Godwin his plans for amending Jobst's proposal. However, it was necessary to secure the support of the influential lords present to make this happen. Very important for Liechtenstein was the support of Lady Anna of Waldstein. Despite all the gossip about her husband's untimely death, she maintains a reputation of a clever woman in her own right, as well as a savvy deal maker. Her skill could be as useful to the allies as, if not more than, her money. Amon Alder will also be a valuable ally. While he is a Kuttenberg counselor, he came to Raborsch even at a time when King Sigismund himself was holding a meeting in the city. That certainly says something about his loyalty to the crown. The alliance with the House of Kunstadt, headed by Sir Botschek, could bring many benefits. He is a respected and wealthy man whose word carries great weight among other lords. So let's meet some people. Anna of Waldstein.
God be with you, noble lady. There's something I'd like to ask of you.
God be with you. What would that be?
Your diplomatic support and your money.
Straight to the point.
Beating around the bush, eh? I like that. But what do you want my money for?
Margrave Jobst's plan has some gaps, milady. We need to gather enough resources to...
To muster an army that Margrave can't afford on his own?
Christ! Be praised. You're astute.
I should say so. All sorts of people have their eyes on my money, and divining their intentions is a necessity. Although, between the two of us, it isn't hard to figure out what Liechtenstein is after.
How do you know Liechtenstein's behind it?
I know most of the people here very well. Many of them certainly have doubts about the Margrave's plans, but they wouldn't dream of stating them aloud. While it seems that Lord Liechtenstein, on the contrary, sees his opportunity.
I'd say you have a better nose for people than most of this crowd.
Not only for people, but also for good food and wine, and beneficial deals.
Then you're in the right place. This occasion provides all of those things.
The wine here is average. The cooks lack imagination. And I have yet to hear any interesting offers. So, to the point. What is it that Liechtenstein wants from me?
Nothing more than support and resources for an army to parley more effectively with Sigismund.
Nothing more? I'd say that's plenty. And why ask me for help? Why should I, of all people, take the risk?
Wise?
It's not only your money we're interested in. You're well able to negotiate and trade. And if you were to take part in our plan...
Then I'd be helpful to you on two fronts. If you want me to support you, you must give me a good reason. Perhaps a favor in return.
Do you have something in particular in mind?
Well, one of the guests here has something that shouldn't get into the wrong hands.
Who's that?
Hanush Alder. Now, if you were to switch these papers for the ones he brought with him, I would support your proposal.
Okay.
And these papers I'm supposed to switch, what do they concern?
My relatives somehow dug up some trade contracts between myself and certain undesirable parties.
You were dealing with the enemy.
They were not the enemy at the time. My conscience is clear, but I'll rest easier when those papers are in my hands.
Have you fallen out with the town councillor?
No. Alder is innocent in the matter. My relatives from the House of Bartosz are behind it all. They're disappointed that I dared outlive my husband, and the fact that I'm handling his estates makes their hair stand on end.
And the papers I'm supposed to plant on Alder?
Just insignificant documents. If the incriminating ones disappeared without a trace, it would arouse suspicion.
I'm supposed to rob an ally.
Haman Alder was given the documents to deliver to the council. He hasn't yet had a chance to look at them, so he won't even notice the difference.
All right, I'll help you. Or at least I'll give it a try.
Alder will surely have the papers in his saddlebags, which he left in the shed on the outer courtyard. Bring them to me, and put these there instead. But watch yourself. Oderin's groom has eyes everywhere.
Okay. Very interesting. Can I read these papers? No, they're quest items. Forged documents covering up the questionable dealings of Lady Anna of Waldstein. The shed with the stored papers was guarded by the Rabor's groom. If Godwin was to get in, he'd either have to somehow convince the groom to let him in, or sneak in without being noticed. Okay. How do I get down there?
Nobody has the likes of these.
Not even Botschek?
Not even Botschek. He's a great lord.
What's the hold-up?
Pardon my exaggerate. He was talking about sorry nags even when they belong to someone else.
How do I get out of here? Down here? What skills does Godwin even have? How's he got -3s? Oh, he's an alcoholic.
What brings you here? Greetings. What do you need?
Aren't you a bit bored?
What's your problem? The horses are fed and watered. I'm not idle.
God forbid. But standing around here must be a pain in the arse, no? You might get thirsty.
Not really. What of it?
I don't think he's going to succeed with that, but let's try the dice.
Shall we roll some dice? I'm sure you can take a little breather, eh?
Well, all right. But just for a little while. I'll wait at the table over there.
Where I need to go in there? Okay. Should I go play dice? Journal. Godwin switched the paper so that Anna would no longer have to worry about her reputation. Alright, let's get out of here. Can I read these papers, though? No. The real documents about Anna Waldstein. Can't read them. Documents proving the questionable dealings of Lady Anna.
Find him a wife. That'll straighten him out in no time.
Alright, I gotta get back to her, and I don't know, maybe I'll talk. Let's talk with Devil and Hanush.
May I have a word with you, sir?
You? Anytime. With you, at least, there's some sensible conversation. Unlike this pack of conceited upstarts.
What do you think about Jobst?
Are you testing me? Jobst called this assembly and he wants things to turn out well. We have to trust him.
To turn out well for whose benefit, though? Some are up to their elbows in silver and blood, so others can live in freedom.
Better make sure you're among the latter, then. And in the meanwhile, help the former to keep their losses to a minimum.
Have you got something against the Kuttenberg nobles?
Their forefathers lived up to their ears in dung. But thanks to the royal mines, they were born with silver spoons up their asses. And they think that can turn their blood blue.
But surely they're not all like that. And they are our allies.
Allies or not, someone ought to show them their place.
Young Lord Capon is finally free again. Let's hope he'll take better care of himself now.
He got a harsh lesson. But at least he might remember to lay off that tomfoolery of his for a while. But if not, war will make a man of him soon enough.
Do you think there's really going to be a war? I mean a proper one, not just sitting around and talking about it.
I sincerely hope so. Whoever sits around risks nothing. It's time to get off our asses and take action.
Careful what you wish for, friend.
Godwin, you wouldn't be avoiding me. We didn't have much time for conversation on the way here. Let's rectify that.
With pleasure, sir. As it happens, there's something I'd like to ask you. What are you expecting from today's gathering, my lord?
Well, I have no great expectations. But, all going well, we may be able to establish some joint steps towards the future. As long as we proceed without prior agreement and mutual support, we will be very unlikely to achieve any progress.
Where did you leave Sir Divish? Surely he's not too old to miss out on such an event.
Haven't you heard? Lady Stephanie is with child.
What?
No one even imagined Divish would produce an heir at his age.
As they say, it doesn't matter who needed the dough, as long as there's a pie in the oven.
Godwin.
Godwin.
Well, it could be a miracle. Praise the Lord!
And speaking of...
I couldn't help but notice your son has a bit of a talent for getting into trouble.
To put it mildly, but not to do him an injustice, knowing young Lord Capon, he undoubtedly contributed to that more than a little. Although, if they didn't pull each other out of trouble, God knows where they'd be now.
Wise words. Still, Henry's come a long way on a thorny path. I trust you're rightfully proud of him.
You know, I am. And Martin would also be glad, even though Henry chose a different path than he.
May God grant him eternal rest.
Can't speak to devil. Alright. Some guards over here. Chilling.
Christ almighty.
Alright, let's head back upstairs then. She's just sitting there plucking her chicken.
I've got those papers from Aldo for you.
Quiet! To announce it to everyone.
My lady, with all the clamor going on here, I can hardly hear my own thoughts. Here they are.
You're more capable than I expected. Thanks for the help.
You're welcome. And now you're part of the bargain.
As agreed. I will support Liechtenstein's proposal with both words and money.
Thank you, noble lady. God will...
Yes, quite. But let's drink to our bargain, Godwin.
Okay, just one.
How could I refuse a toast with such a fine lady? To your health, Lady Anna.
And to the success of our efforts.
Okay, then we have drop that removed the debuff. But look at all these other things that started working. How about overeating? Hold on. Didn't eat anything. I had one drink. Alright, who's next? I already talked to you two. You look like Vitek, the huntsman's son.
Sir, I don't believe I've had the honor.
Nor I, until now. I am Sir Konrad, Lord of Vechta. And you are the heir to the Lord of Rabosh, are you not?
Apparently.
My father somewhat disowned me some time ago.
And I used to be the Royal Mint Master, until the king decided to replace me.
We've got quite a bit in common, wouldn't you say?
More than you think. If my memory doesn't deceive me, you serve as a parish priest. So I recollect, at least, from my recent discussions with Martin.
Served. That's in the past.
Even so. Before King Wenceslas appointed me his mint master, I was a priest. I was even being groomed to become a bishop.
And now look at us. We have cast off our robes and merrily hatched plots against Sigismund.
There's no point in waiting for divine intervention. On the contrary, the current state of affairs demands quite a secular approach.
Are you going to support the Margrave's proposal?
I haven't quite decided yet. It's true that displeasure against the king is noticeably growing in Kuttenberg, but if our rebellion were to come face to face with Sigismund's army, I'd be risking my future, if not my life.
Do you think you might get your position as Mint Master back again?
I doubt it. Half the town hates Vavak, but no one would even think of saying a word against him. And he knows that his security stands and falls with his function, so he clings to it tooth and nail.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Konrad of Vechta. Konrad of Vechta had a rather illustrious career. He started as a priest, but because he was skilled in handling finances, he entered the service of King Wenceslas IV and was a member of the Royal Council from 1398 to 1400. Later, he was appointed the Royal Mint Master and also held the offices of the Bishop of Verdun and Olomouc, and even Archbishop of Prague. As the highest-ranking Bohemian clergyman, he crowned Sigismund of Luxembourg as King of Bohemia after the death of Wenceslas IV, but he never became Sigismund's ally. After the outbreak of the Hussite uprising, he supported its ideals and ordained Hussite priests. However, this had fatal consequences for him. By joining the Hussites, the property of the Prague Archbishopric was secularized. The bishops of Olomouc and Liechtenstein and most of the Catholic priests renounced their allegiance to Konrad, and the Pope excommunicated him. He also lost the support of the Emperor. Konrad was deprived of his office in 1425 and died forgotten in obscurity. At the time of our game, Konrad was a mere royal official. His dramatic career as a high-ranking clergyman had yet to come. Very interesting. It's one of the things I like about this game is it's got all of this history, like real history that happens. This is our other guy we gotta talk to. Let's talk to Oderin first.
I'd like to check your horses out. See if they're as good as you say.
Ha! Even better. But you won't believe it until you see for yourself.
And you might not believe your eyes when you do see them. Well, well, we have a new guest.
I wanted to...
You wanted to apologize for crashing into my home without it by your leave. Or to arrest my guests some more?
I want to have a word with Older.
Well, I'm having a word with you.
I apologize, Father.
For interrupting our conversation? Or just for being you?
Is that your...
Unfortunately. Speak up then. What are you doing here?
I came with a delegation from Sir Hanush of Lipa.
Is this a joke?
Why so strict, Martin?
20 years ago, he was nothing but a cheeky brat, only interested in wenches and booze. I got him a place at the Archbishopric to have some sense beaten into his head. Only it wasn't long before they kicked him out. And then I find out he's settled in some backwater parish in Sassau. But he took his boozing and whoring along with him, lost everything, and then came creeping home again. Huh?
Try saying it again a little louder. They might not have heard you in the outer courtyard.
You have the impertinence to show me your face after the way you disgraced our whole family?
I wouldn't set foot here if I had a choice. Better to be a priest in some backwater than have a father like you.
How dare you?
You're as a father as I am a son. We've got nothing to blame each other for. And now let me speak to Older.
You're dishonoring your host.
I can't dishonor someone who has no honor.
Ooh.
If you had any, you'd be...
That's enough!
Christopher.
That his brother?
You won't get away with those insults. I challenge you to a duel.
Ugh. All right, then.
I'm not happy about it, but I accept. This isn't how I imagined my first meeting with my brother.
Make room for us. We'll just settle a very private matter. It's an honorable duel, man against man. Stay back.
Take what's wrong with your legs? You don't know which end of that thing is up.
That will do.
I've been waiting around like a fence post.
Somehow I'm no longer in the mood for it.
That makes two of us.
My God. Where did you learn to wield a sword like that? Father always said you were a good-for-nothing boozer. But you could teach sword fighting in a school.
I was in a war. Right after they kicked me out of the Archbishopric. And you ought to know yourself. Not all the faults that Father sees are real.
Aye. Well, I apologize for going off like that. I had to, so that...
So Father would be satisfied. I know.
Yeah.
Only he'll never be satisfied. The sooner you realize that, the better.
I thought he was the way he was because his first son let him down. And he hoped at least his second would become something.
Not at all. I remember him the same since I was a nipper. When I was 6 years old, I fell off a horse and broke my leg. He wouldn't talk to me for a week because I'd let him down.
The first time he took me hunting, he let me starve for 3 days until I was able to shoot my first hare.
Only 3 days. He got soft.
I always wondered who you were. There was never much talk about you at home.
Look, I really did f*** up everything I could. I brawled and boozed until they threw me out of my own parish. But now, I have a chance to put things to rights a little.
And that's why you want to talk to Alder.
Aye. The outcome of this war depends on it.
That sounds very important, considering you and Alder are both pretty small players. After your encounter with Father, it won't be easy to get to Alder. Actually, I don't think you should even attempt it. Unless you want to anger Father even more.
What else can I do, though?
I'll talk to him myself. He'll hear me out for sure. But you'll have to trust me. And tell me what it's all about.
Do I have a choice?
All right, then. You've heard Jobst's plan, right? It's a nice idea, but we can't wait around without an army to back us up.
Only no one's going to pay for one, because that would be an outright admission of rebelling against Sigismund.
Alder's got some clout with the councillors and burghers who are loyal to Sigismund. If he agrees, they'll follow.
I expect Alder's not the only one you're after.
You got that right.
Leave Alder to me. The plan sounds sensible, and he's no fool.
I don't know how to thank you.
You can drag me to a tavern sometime. Pa doesn't need to know about it.
You're starting to sound like a brother.
Okay. Making progress. Making progress. The younger brother challenged Godwin to a duel for insulting his father. Their father, Martin Oderin, didn't even bother to watch the fight. Godwin didn't even get a chance to talk to Haman because of his father's nagging. Despite getting off to a bad start, Godwin and Christopher found they understood each other. Christopher even offered to help talk around Haman older because, as luck would have it, he was a family friend. Alright, so we gotta get to Botschek, which is upstairs. Is there a trough down here? I can just make sure I'm washed off. Okay, very good. It says downstairs.
What a load of sh...
That's actually why we mustn't push too hard.
Burgers, patricians and usurers.
Zizka, let's talk.
You seem a bit out of sorts. Anything wrong?
Oh, these grand aristocratic assemblies are nothing for me. I'd be happier if they just told me in the morning how it all went and what my boys have to do next.
But then you'd miss all the grub and the booze. And the gossip.
Oh, and have you heard anything
so weird.
interesting here?
It seems Liechtenstein's looking for allies. For his own ends.
And how's he gonna do it? Didn't you see them all fighting tooth and nail here just a while ago?
Well, different approaches work with different people.
The only approach that'll work with Sigismund is open resistance. Maybe on the field of battle?
Let's hope young Lord Capon manages to stay free for a while longer. Ever since leaving Ratai, he's gone from one pile of trouble to another.
That's one thing you can always count on him for. I'll gladly wager with you he'll end up in some other by evening.
God forbid. Henry's not here now to pull him out of it.
In that case, it'll be up to you. I'm sure you wouldn't leave him to disgrace himself in front of Hanush.
A lot of people think the wealthy burghers will stick with Sigismund, whether out of fear or convenience.
Well, that's to be expected. As long as Sigismund has the city council under his thumb, no one will rock the boat.
Well, at least there's a few individuals here, like Ruthard.
Sigismund confiscated his castle and half his estates. That'd be enough to make a man mad. Not to mention that his son was killed in the siege of the city.
Excuse you.
Sir Botschek, I need to speak with you for a moment.
A man hardly puts his cup to his lips and someone comes along to put a flea in his ear. Jobst comes up with a plan as full of holes as a beggar's shoes, and now you're all jostling to win me over for him.
On the contrary, I've come here with an idea how to improve it.
Does that improvement include a few thousand men-at-arms? If not, you can go to the devil with it.
A few thousand men-at-arms as a convincing argument. And 100 horsemen on top. Only in order to get them, we need coin.
You've got my attention, but not my money yet.
Okay. Well, other people will provide money
Don't
too.
worry, it's not just your money I want to draw on. Believe it or not, we've gained other patrons for our cause too.
Really? Name at least one of those lunatics then.
Anna of Waldstein, for instance.
Truly? Well, let's see about it then.
I wouldn't mention the word lunatic.
All right, let's discuss it, candidly. I have a lot of property, lots of subjects to look after, and along with that, the Lord blessed me with a large family. I can't risk it all in a conflict with Sigismund.
So you need guarantees that you won't be left standing in the cold if you openly oppose Sigismund?
My guarantee is called Yitka. She's my niece. If I succeeded in marrying her off to another strong house, I'll have the certainty that I won't be left alone.
Maybe it's enough to find a suitable groom among the allies.
Perhaps someone of suitable standing who Yitka would also gladly accept. I don't want her to be unhappy.
What about me? Oh no, not Capon. Oof. Like, I don't know about Liechtenstein's standing or his character, but he's definitely like in the spycraft. And Capon's character is so bad, though. I'd hate to marry anyone off to Lord Capon. Let's offer Liechtenstein first.
I believe Liechtenstein is single.
And an uncertain party. Besides, he's inconvenient for Sigismund. Yitka could end up being a pawn to blackmail both of us.
How about Capon then?
How about young Lord Capon?
He's a youngster still.
He may be young, but he's got something between his ears. He's got battle experience. And when he gets the estate that's his by right, he'll be well secured for life.
If he gets it. Right now, Hanush lords over Rate and seems quite happy with that state of affairs. On the other hand, the lords of Lipa have a good reputation, and Hanush can always be relied on despite his temper. Maybe it's not such a bad idea.
So, will you support our plan?
You're selling the skin of a boar that's still grunting. First, I want a confirmation that the wedding will take place as soon as possible.
And what if Lord Capon refuses?
I don't care what the young lord thinks. Hanush is the one to decide. If he agrees, I'll be happy to support your plan.
Pushing a friend to tie the knot to save the kingdom. Things have come to a pretty pass.
The kingdom will not forget his sacrifice. Now stop dilly-dallying and go and tell Hanush.
Oh, this is crazy. All right, so who? Let's see. He promised to support Jobst's amended plan under one condition: his niece would marry Lord Capon. Godwin had no choice but to go and tell Hanush and hope he wouldn't wring his neck there and then. Dare I tell Capon?
And that's exactly why we mustn't push too hard.
Take a look at that.
All right, Hanush.
A knighting.
Sir Hanush, I bring happy tidings.
You do? Let's hear it then.
Young Lord Capon is going to get married.
If he's got some impoverished noble's daughter pregnant, I'll have his hide. I'm not going to support some bastard.
You misunderstood my meaning. I was the one who arranged the betrothal. I mean, with your blessing.
You arranged a marriage for my ward? Just like that? With who?
With the niece of Sir Botschek, Lord of Kunstadt. Her name's Zizka.
Botschek of Kunstadt? The Botschek of Kunstadt? Godwin, you conniving old bastard!
Oh,
I don't believe it. So, young Hans is to marry Kunstadt's daughter?
niece.
If you're serious, I'll make sure that you get the Rate parish.
Or you could make me the abbot of Sassa. Or what about a bishopric?
Forget it. Soon I'll be paying for a wedding. Not a word to Hans. I want to tell him myself. But let's drink to it, shall we?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to you, and to your parleying skills.
Okay, I'm sorry, Hans. I hope she's pretty. Is she here? I don't see a Yitka. All right. Talk to her.
Sir Botschek, your niece Zizka can start preparing for her wedding.
So Hanush agreed, without reservations.
Indeed.
Then I will fulfill my end of the bargain without reservation.
Thank you, Lord of Kunstadt.
Enough formality. We'll have a drink. What do you say?
Cheers.
Cheers to the beautiful Lady Zizka and the unhappy Lord King.
Here's to a good bargain.
And the unhappy capon. I want to look at something here. Characters. Hans is not here? Lords of Kunstadt. Botschek of Kunstadt, whom the player may set a council of lords loyal to King Wenceslas, is a composite of two real men of that name. The first was Botschek of Kunstadt and Oderin, a Moravian nobleman. We know that in 1353 he was given the title of favorite and royal cupbearer by Charles IV. Besides Oderin and many estates in Moravia, he owned a splendid house in Prague, which the king exempted from all taxes and fees. He later clashed with John Henry, the Moravian margrave and brother of Charles IV, over his unfinished castle at Oderin. After the king's intervention, he had to demolish the castle and reconcile with the margrave. In 1371, he took possession of the important castle of Liechtenstein. His son, Botschek of Kunstadt, followed in his father's footsteps and became one of the richest and most influential nobles of his time. With his two wives, he fathered four sons. The third of these, Victor, was the father of the famous Czech king George Podebrad. The House of Kunstadt continued until the 16th century, when, having been one of the most numerous families up until then, it died out. Interesting. Why is Hans not in here? Oh, there he is. I just didn't see that. All right. Son of Yesik. I can't say that. The head Vechta of Duba, and after the death of his father, Jan Yesik, the lords of Lipa, Uncle Henry, his son Hanush, and his brothers became his guardians. After the imprisonment of Master Jan Hus, he signed the petition in his defense in the Hussite Wars. However, he initially sided with the League of Lords against the Hussites in a few minor battles. In 1419, he took part in the Battle of the Hussites at Knin, apparently due to the influence of his close neighbor Leszek of Kravik from Sternberg. There are no records indicating he took part in the war later. He was the Lord of Rate in Polna, and he acquired Rate from his guardians only in 1412. He held positions in the provincial offices, and his son was the famous Hanik. Unlike his historical precursor, however, we took poetic license of making Hans Capon a 20-year-old man in our... Yeah, I think he's like 15 in reality or something like that. All right, I was wondering if it would say something about being married to this lady. All right, well, let's go talk to Liechtenstein and tell him that we've managed to secure support. Should I tell Hans? Oh, I can talk to him. Ugh. If I had a savior schnapps, I would. All right, Liechtenstein, where do you go?
Celebrate hearing you admit a mistake, Margrave. But if I were you,
Gentlemen, I think we can raise our goblets to the successful conclusion of the negotiations.
Is this supposed to be your secret weapon?
Like I said, miracles happen where you least expect them. Tell me, Godwin of the House of Oderin, what news do you bring us?
I bring nothing from the House of Oderin. But the widow of Waldstein and Sir Botschek of Kunstadt will support our cause.
Both of them? Good heavens, what did you promise them?
This is going to be a long story, and I could use a drink. So if you'll excuse me, my lords.
Okay, let's see how this goes.
It would seem that we have all benefited from the break in these proceedings. New alliances have been formed. And I have also changed my plans. We shall still wait for Sigismund to withdraw his troops of his own accord. But we will wait with an army at our backs.
And how are we to raise an army? Wasn't it made clear at the meeting that no one wants to take the risk?
The only thing made clear was that each of us alone is weak, and that we could not find common ground. But that has now changed.
King Wenceslas is, by the will of God, the balbatim of all his subjects. Not only the Christians, our community, and not only ours, will give you coin.
The Kuttenberg houses are still loyal to King Wenceslas, and we stand with Lord Ruthard.
And if that's not enough, the houses of Lippe and Kunstadt will unite and march side by side.
My niece, Zizka, will take young Lord Capon as her husband.
Is he gonna pass out?
Lords Kunstadt, Hanush, Radzig, and I will set out immediately. God willing, we will be back within 3 weeks, along with an army.
Now those are words worthy of a nobleman.
My friend, I still believe that words are more powerful than swords. And our words will ring in 1,000 voices to the glory of King Wenceslas.
Meanwhile, at Kuttenberg City Hall, how's Henry doing? He's sitting there staring at Von
After we
Olives.
conquered the city, you promised to restore order immediately. And then I find out things are even more disordered than before.
Your Majesty, we are sorry. We will put it to rights.
You've already said that. I want to hear real solutions.
We will put more guards on the roads and toughen penalties. We can have a few captured bandits executed as an example to others.
We do not care about bandits. We care about rebellious nobles and burghers. What will you do with them? How will you solve the chaos in the town administration, the rebellious miners, and the dismal yields? And how is it even possible that a rebellion against the king is smoldering here in the city?
What do you mean, sire?
I hear the resistance is coming from the Jewish quarter, from right under your noses. Why haven't you done anything?
We don't know who is behind this. Without evidence, we cannot punish them.
Otto von Berghoff did not ask questions in Prague either. He acted. And I advise you to do the same. Find a couple of wretches in a hole somewhere, point them to the Jewish quarter, and give them free rein to do anything. The city's Jewish community was and still is on Wenceslas' side. They need a warning.
We do not even have enough men to...
Marquardt, could you spare a few men for a while?
Of course, sire. I'll assign them to Eric. He'll take care of it.
So you see, All you have to do is make sure the city rabble get their share. You could at least manage that, couldn't you? And if the thought should cross your minds that you would get rid of the debts to the Jewish moneylenders this way, forget about it. Your debts will remain, up to the last groschen. Only now you owe us directly. And while we are on the subject of money, has the yield from the mines finally matched last year's?
Sire, the deposits are dwindling, and mining is becoming increasingly difficult. And to make matters worse, the miners started rebelling.
Don't take us for a fool. They'll stop rebelling when you pay them proper wages.
Your Majesty, we can't do that.
Silence! How dare you oppose the kingdom's protector? You're a bunch of incompetent sycophants! Chicken! Not any better than the scum hiding in the forest.
I apologize, sire. I'll do everything in my power to...
All I hear from you over and over again are excuses and prevarication. And results? None. I therefore place the city council under the authority of Sir Marquardt von Aulitz, who is present here, with immediate effect. He will make sure you finally do your duty.
But, sire, that would be a violation of the privileges granted to us as a free mining town.
Silence! I am the only guarantor of your rights. You have to earn your privileges, not hide behind them. During my brother's reign, this idleness was perhaps tolerated. But that is over now. You were given a few simple tasks. But instead of working on them, you idled in the baths and lined your pockets. And let the traitors cast their nets undisturbed. But unlike my brother, I am capable of creating order. And I assure you, I do not distinguish between those who stand in my way. Be they beggars, noblemen, or city councillors. You have 2 weeks to restore order in the city and increase mining output. I want clear results, and you answer only to me and Sir Marquardt von Aulitz now. No one else.
Everybody looks pretty scared.
The council is dismissed. You, don't go anywhere, boy. Be so kind and remain here. Our throat has become rather dry. And we still wish to speak with our friend von Aulitz.
Yes, sire. As you wish, sire.
Between the two of us, Marquardt, was I not perhaps too harsh on them? And speak candidly, we have had enough of false flattery.
Sire, you were harsh, but rightfully so. They need to be shown their place. You suffered their insolence for far too long. And the same is true of the Jews.
All right, looking at the clock, I think we're going to call it an episode here because who knows what's about to happen. But we're serving the king. Well, I can't wait to find out what happens with Hans and what's going to happen next here. So hopefully you're as excited as I am to see the next episode. So be sure you hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow for the next episode. Till then, be good.